Morning all. Obviously no planned in show today. It's not the morning after show. It is sort of not the Friday reflections, but just to sort of touch on last night's result. Obviously Fulham lose 2-0 at home, I believe it was, to Burnley. Therefore we are now mathematically safe from relegation for one more season. Obviously, relief, thank God for that. However, there's a little bit of sadness, a little bit of checking ourselves, thinking, how did it come to this? How did it come to this? You know, how did it take for us to have 3 games left to become mathematically safe from a team who've only won 5 games all season? How have we let that happen? I know obviously Steve Bruce and the team have done well in recent weeks to turn it around. I don't want to sort of take anything away from that, particularly the result against Leicester. I'm looking at the West Ham game, the Tottenham game, and the Liverpool game. You know, were those flawless performances? No. Were there positives? Yes. Were there negatives? Yes. I'm not going to go too much into that today, but you know, we found ourselves deep in a hole in March, looking like to say we were on the slippery slide to relegation was putting it nicely. We were in absolute free fall. We were a freight train, and the brakes were seized. The brakes were off. You know. So that we've done well to recover, aided by we had that stretch where we would pick up a good result and Fulham would lose. So it was every win was almost like a 6-pointer. So good. Steve Bruce was on TalkSport yesterday. I've heard snippets. I'm going to do a video on that possibly tomorrow morning, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe Thursday, sorry, because I want to listen to the full interview. That I've seen there's been hell up by some people online about what he said, so I thought, right, I want to listen to this properly before I comment. One thing I will say though, the word progress has been bandied about by journalists, by the manager. You know, we want to make progress, we're making progress. Now, in retrospect, in small terms, small steps, we have made progress. Look at the last 2 months, you know, from the dismal performances. I mean, look at Brighton, for example, that 3-0. Are we a better team now than we played against Brighton? Yes, I think so. The performance against Leicester would suggest that. The performance against Tottenham would suggest that. The performance against Liverpool, West Ham would suggest that. Performance against Arsenal would suggest not. But we've come on. Now, how much of that is down to the manager? How much of that is down to the players? How much of that is down to our big players being fit and firing? Which I believe is the key factor. And to be fair, Steve Bruce said all along, judge me when my big players are fit. So that's fair, okay. But in terms of the overall picture, the progress of the season, the progress from last season, we aren't finishing 13th this season. I can't see it happening. So in terms of league position, there's not going to be any progress. In terms of performances, obviously recency bias is a thing. It's real, it's fresh in the memory, but I think there's been more dire performances this season than there were last season. I'm looking at the 2 Brighton results. I'm looking at the Arsenal performance, the Sheffield performance, Fulham at home. They're just off the top of my head. Last season, which were the ones that stick out the worst? The Leicester games, Brighton at home, the Brighton at home one will always resonate with me, because that was the same weekend Watford got beat, I think 8-0 by Man City at the Etihad, and they had more possession on the wrong end of an 8-0 thrashing away from home against the champions. They had more possession of the football than we did at home to Brighton. Anyway, so have we progressed from last season? Probably not. No. So, although Bruce has done fairly well the last month or so, manager of the month candidate, to turn things around, we all know we should never have been there in the first place. You know that the wrong decisions were made at the key points of the season. No decisions were made sometimes. You know, formations, personnel. Certain players have let us down. I'll say that. Certain players have let us down. Jamal Lewis hasn't been fantastic. Ryan Fraser has let us down time and again in terms of, you look at the sending off. He had a few good performances, you know, injuries. I know that's out of his control, but every time he put a couple of good games together, he was then injured. But the manager's selections, you look at the insistence on playing Joe Linton, the insistence of it. And I know Joe Linton, he puts himself about when he's eager. Well, he has been more so this season, and he scored more goals than he did last season. But Jesus Christ, you know, it's like the insistence on playing him was strange. When we've got Dwight Gale, who is not the world's greatest striker, is probably not even a proper Premier League striker, but my word, is he more of a Premier League striker than Joe Linton. You know, Jeff Hendrick, he's not been in the team so much recently, and I'm not saying it was his fault that we were on poor form, but the fact that we've improved since he's been taken out says a lot. Again, he's another Bentaleb to me, and I know that there's more to the team than Matty Longstaff, but to me, he's just in Matty's way. We don't owe him anything. He was bought on he was signed on a fucking free. Yeah, we've got this decent prospect in the reserve team, and we got this shithouse in front of him. Strange. Anyway, so we're safe now. I am happy about that. However, it's a sobering high, because you think, Jesus Christ. As it comes to this, you know, we've been in a relegation fight since probably October. We had a decent start to the season, and then it's just been shit since then. So hopefully the players don't go on the beach like they did last season, you know, tail off. So we've got a big game against Man City on Friday, who will more than likely win the league against us. Then we have two big games. All right, we're safe, but we have two big games against relegated teams. Sheffield United first at home, then Fulham away. Obviously, some people say, "Oh, there's nothing to play for." Those two games are massive. We need to perform in those games, because, like I said in one of my videos the other day, there'd be a lot of people if Fulham turn us over. We think, "Oh, you know, Fulham don't deserve to go down. Look at these are shit." Blah blah blah. All right, that's irrelevant, really, because obviously the facts speak for themselves. We deserve to stay up more than Fulham, at least on paper, because of the points accumulation. However, we need to make a statement against those two teams. We need to get Sheffield back for that, and repay the fans for that horrendous display at Bramall Lane. The submission on a football pitch, the fear against a team who had no fear factor about them. And then the Fulham game, which is James's Park, that was embarrassing. Again, we just lay down and let them play. how nice would it be to go to Craven Cottage against a relegated team, go fuck you, have some of this, bang, 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 do them 4-0 like we did in Rafa's last game. Be fantastic. Anyway, I just finished work, so quick rant. I'm happy, sun to my eyes, I'm happy we've stayed up. Of course, we should never have been in that position though. That is the sober reality, but let's take each day as it comes. We're still in the Premier League. We will be in the Premier League for the 21-22 season. Whew. Right. I'm hoping, my last one is, I'm hoping that more people in the Newcastle United squad are going to be like, it's over and done with, but we should be doing better than that, instead of celebrating like a West Brom would have been this season for staying out. But time will tell. Anyway, let's prepare for City, see how we go. Cheerio.